Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahushai, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahushai, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahushai, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahushai, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Wa Barak, Wa Rapah, Wa Kazak, to the apostles, elders, and the brethren throughout the four corners. Back out with another another video, and I've been thinking on this subject and pondering on it and putting together a little information on it for a while, and I just wanted to wait till after the president gave his State of the Union address, which was on Tuesday, which was a day ago. And at the State of the Union address, he didn't call for a national emergency, not just yet. He still has until the 15th of February, which he gave for about, I think for 3 weeks. He opened the government for basically 3 weeks to try to come to an agreement with these people over building the wall. But now I want to go back before the shutdown actually happened to an article that came out on December 10th, 2018. Now the article says DHS, which is an abbreviation for Department of Homeland Security. Department of Homeland Security says Americans need to start prepping for up to 6 months without electricity. Now, this was a statement issued by the Department of Homeland Security on December, the date here on this article says December 10th, 2018. That's about 12 days before the shutdown began. Now, what they're speaking about is, I'm going to read further down. It says, in a new report from the President's National Infrastructure Advisory Council, the abbreviation for that is NIAC. It's called NIAC, National Infrastructure Advisory Council, and published by the Department of Homeland Security, the government is urging the public to prepare for up to 6 months without electricity, transportation, fuel, money, and health care. Right? So you have to prepare for no transportation, no fuel, money, or health care. Because if there's an attack on the electrical grid, what's going to happen is you won't be able to move around in your vehicle, because how are you going to get fuel? When you go to the gas station, all of those gas pumps is controlled by what? Electricity. So they have to turn the power on so that way to the pumps, so the pumps can pump gas into your car. When you go up to the ATM to go and get money, or even into the bank, when you roll up to the ATM, there has to be power so the ATM, you can put your card in and put your code in to get money out the ATM. Oh, and healthcare. Now, if you can't move around, how are you going to get to a hospital if you need healthcare? Hospitals are going to be what? Compromised and closed. They're going to be working off of backup generators. And then when the backup generator goes, they're done. So how are you going to get to the hospital? How is an ambulance going to get to you when they can't get fuel to ride in the ambulance to come to your house? These are all things that's going to be affected just by simply one thing, the power going, there's being a power outage. All of these things will be affected. Now it says, DHS is warning that the electricity grid is now the prime target of terrorists, and says Americans need to be prepared for a power outage of up to 6 months. The report says that people no longer keep enough essentials within their homes, reducing their ability to sustain themselves during an extended, prolonged outage. We need to improve individual preparedness. So they're telling people to go out here and prepare in the event of a power outage, right? And DHS is telling people that you should stock up. They're saying that you should stock up for 6 months. I'm going to read it again. DHS is warning that the electric grid is now the prime target of terrorists, and says Americans need to be prepared for a power outage of up to 6 months, right? So they're telling you to prepare. Department of Homeland Security is telling you to prepare for a power outage of up to 6 months. Now, this right here all sounds like the movie plot for the movie Die Hard 4 with Bruce Willis. The movie was called Live Free or Die Hard. And in the movie, he was picking up this computer hacker that he was picking up this computer hacker and he was supposed to deliver him to the FBI. And then what happened was there was a cyber attack that was launched on the power grid of America. That's the plot of the movie, which shut down the water because the hydro plants, the electricity is used for them to turn and open certain pipes to let the water run through to come to your house. It's controlled through electricity. So electricity was shut down. The water was shut down. The entire power grid was out. The whole eastern seaboard throughout the United States, the power grid was out. You go watch the movie Live Free or Die Hard, Bruce Willis. That's the plot of the movie. They're actually talking about that happening here in America. Okay, this is something that they planned just like 9/11. But that's another story with 9/11. Now, what I'm saying is basically the fix is in. Because DHS is telling people to prepare for, in other words, store provisions and food for up to 6 months. Because they say it's going to take about 6 months for them to get the power restored. With generators and the transformers and things that are going to be destroyed during this event. So they're saying it's going to take them up to 6 months before they can get power back online. So they're saying for you to go out there and store up food for up to 6 months. Now, I'm saying that the fix is in. Why am I saying that the fix is in? Because America has for a long time had laws on the books, a law called the Anti-Hoarding Act. And it stems back. I believe originally there was a law on the books, I think in 1950, 1953, something like that, which was dealing with, you know, hoarding of food and stuff like that. And it's been ratified throughout the years. So I'm going to come to the point of the 70s. Now, there's a book that Apostle Tahar introduced to us. This is before we were known as GMS, back in the early mid-90s, or say 95. It's called Satan's Angels Exposed by a man named Salem Kerben. This book was written in 1980. And when you read the history on this guy, Salem Kerben, you read in here, he gives you a little information about him. And he's speaking about that in 1978, he had the idea to write this book. But it wasn't until 14 months later that he actually wrote the book. And then the book was actually published in 1980. So he has a chapter in here in Satan's Angels Exposed, and the chapter is called The Trilateral Commission, America's New Secret Government. Now on page 217 it says this. At the bottom it says, towards socialized government. It says, in the past few years, we have seen the continued gradual approach to centralized government control of our lives through socialistic programs. These include recent energy programs, socializing, and welfare programs, guaranteed annual wage, Social Security, and medical security programs, i.e. you got Social Security, you got Medicaid, you got the state welfare. These programs are all in existence right now. They were in existence back then. A lot of people depend on these programs. That's why the government shut down. A lot of people were nervous as hell because this is how a lot of people in this country live. They're getting Social Security. A lot of people are getting Medicaid. A lot of elderly people are taken care of through Medicaid under Title 19. You have the state welfare, which is funded by the federal government. The money sent to the state, and the state divvies out to whoever comes and signs up and is eligible to get the SNAP and the EBT. The EBT is the cash. The SNAP is the digital food stamp, and the EBT is the digital cash. But it's the same card, right? So I'm going to read it again. These socialistic programs, these include recent energy programs. There's also a program I know of in the hood because I live in the hood. I got family members, cousins, friends, different associates who their mother, their grandmother, their girlfriend is on an energy program where they pay your energy, they pay your gas bill for 6 months, or from, I think it would be from like December, January, February, March, somewhere to maybe up until April when the weather breaks. They do have something called a match payment program, right? So that's an energy program. They do the same thing with the gas bill. So to get you through the winter, and then when you get to the warm weather, you got to pay the bill down till the winter comes back again. Then you sign up for the program again, and they help you. It's like a match payment thing. You pay $50 every 2 weeks. They pay $50, a match payment or something like that. But now, it says, these include, I'm going to read it again from the top. In the past few years, we have seen the continued gradual approach to centralized government control of our lives through socialistic programs. These include recent energy programs, socializing and welfare programs, guaranteed annual wage, Social Security, and medical security programs. On the surface, they may appear beneficial, but they all eventually will lead to a people who become subservient, submissive to Big Brother. And we've seen that with this government shutdown. People were freaking out. Not just the government workers. A lot of government workers, they were going bonkers because they work for the government. They get a check working for the government. Now, but then you have the people that depend on these different services, Social Security, food stamps, Medicaid, so on and so forth. People were really biting their nails trying to figure out what the hell they're going to do. But now let me read on. Page 219. Perhaps you did not realize that the U.S. government can freeze your bank account. See, the government can freeze your bank account, and it's going to go on to explain how they can do it. The president now has the power to announce the existence of a national emergency. So Trump is talking about declaring a state of emergency or a national emergency based off of the border wall. That is just that's just the surface of the deal. When he declares a national emergency because of the border wall, all of these things come into effect. So if he declares a national emergency, guess what? Then the banks are under emergency. So the banks, they can stop you from coming into the bank and taking your money out the bank, making withdrawals. Okay? They can stop you. You got direct deposit into the bank. You won't be able to access none of that money. I'm going to read on. The president now has the power to announce the existence of a national emergency via Executive Order 11921, which was signed June 15, 1976. That was during the Jimmy Carter administration. Jimmy Carter was the president during that time. So during the Carter administration, Executive Order 11921 was signed into existence. Now let me see if I can pull up a little something here real quick on that executive order that Jimmy Carter signed. No, I'm sorry, it wasn't Jimmy Carter. Excuse me, it was Gerald Ford. Pardon me. Executive Order 11921 was an executive order approved by President of the United States Gerald Ford on June 11, 1976. It amends Executive Order 11490 of October 28, 1969. That was an executive order that was signed by President Richard Nixon. Executive Order 11490. That was on October 28, 1969. So this one, Executive Order 11921, was the executive order that amended Executive Order 11490 of October 28, 1969, which calls for federal agencies to prepare plans for a state of emergency that would require over all civilian manpower mobilization programs and related emergency measures, right? So let me read on here. It says Executive Order 11921, June 15th, 1976. Then it says, and other executive orders, these orders have behind them the force of law which could be used to establish a federal dictatorship. This is an event that he declares a national emergency. Under these orders, federal agencies can, 1, control all food supply. 2, control all money and credit. 3, control all transportation. 4, control all communications. 5, control all public utilities. All this can come into being by the president merely signing a piece of paper that a national emergency exists. Under the emergency banking regulation, number 1, if this were to occur, your bank accounts would be immediately frozen, both checking and savings. You could be prohibited from making any withdrawals of cash. You could be prohibited from writing any more checks without the bank's approval. Except for customary amounts, the bank would decide what is customary. No checks would be honored by any bank for any unauthorized purpose. So you see what I'm getting at, why I'm saying that the fix is in. Because he's talking about declaring a national emergency because of the border wall. Well, when the president declares a national emergency, what's going to happen is these executive orders that are already on the books, they come to life and they come to fruition and they can act on them. Now, I want to go and read something else. I want to read some more information about the executive orders, because in 1994, when President Bill Clinton was in office, President Bill Clinton, he signed executive orders into existence. And let me see if I can pull this up with for President Bill Clinton. He signed this into law. Let me see if I got to find it. So in 1994, former President Bill Clinton released an executive order that lumped together a number of laws that could go into effect in the event of declaration of martial law. One of the laws included in this order number is 10998, allows the federal government to seize hoarded food supplies from both public and private sources. Now let me go back to the top of the page. It's called Anti-Hoarding Law. It says federal anti-hoarding laws have nothing to do with regulating people who display compulsive junk collecting habits. If you ever seen that show, I think it's on A&E. It's just called American Pickers, and they go to people's houses deep in the Midwest or in the South, and they got all kinds of junk from the turn of the century around. That's not deemed as hoarding. What's deemed as hoarding is when you're hoarding food, and you have storages of food put up. That's considered hoarding according to the anti-hoarding laws that the federal government has on the books, which is where these executive orders come into play. It says, within the United States, these laws take effect under martial law so as to ensure citizens may access food in the occurrence of a catastrophic event. I'm going to read again. In 1994, former President Bill Clinton released an executive order that lumped together a number of laws that could go into effect in the event of a declaration of martial law, which is a national emergency. One of the laws included in this order, number 10998, allows the federal government to seize hoarded food supplies from both public and private sources. So that's why I say that the fix is in. Because you have these anti-hoarding laws that are on the books, right, that were legislated from the executive branch. That's why they're called executive orders, because the president operates from the executive branch. So now the Department of Homeland Security is telling people to stock up food for up to 6 months in the event of a attack on the power grid, right? But there's laws in the books that are against you hoarding food. You hoarding basically over a month's supply of food, they can come and take all of your storage from you. So now you have these people that been on, I think it could have been the History Channel. Some years ago, they had shows about people who are preppers. They call them doomsday preppers. You stupid preppers put yourselves on Front Street because they know exactly where you at and what your supplies are. And you best bet when it's a state of emergency is declared, the government, they're going to come and take your shit from you. And not just you, anybody else that got any stores of anything out there. You got ammunition stored up. You got food stored. You got ammunition stored. They're coming to take it. And those people who are preppers, you basically gave them a roadmap right to where you at. By putting yourself on Front Street, letting the History Channel do a documentary on you. Showing how you got skids of dried beans and rice and you got canned goods all stored up. And you're living up in the mountains. You're living you're living in areas where you believe people can't get to you. Well, people are going to get to you. And later on in the lesson, I'm going to read a couple scriptures about that too. But the whole thing is the fix is in. Because the Department of Homeland Security is telling people to stock up for 6 months. But you have these laws on the books that the government can enforce in the event of a national emergency. Next week, the 15th is on a Friday. If they don't come to a resolution on the border wall, President Trump is going to declare a national emergency. What comes into effect? These executive orders. Now, let me go back. I'm going to go back again. Because President Obama, everybody loves, Barack Obama. Barack Obama, during his tenure, especially on March 16, 2012, Barack Obama signed something into law, okay? He signed something into law, and as a matter of fact, what he signed into law on March 16, 2012, it absorbs the executive order 11490 that Richard Nixon signed back in 1969. That executive order that Obama signed, Nixon's order is, it was resolved and changed. It was resolved and it was changed over. It was given another executive order and it was amalgamated into what Obama passed in 2012, which is called the National Defense Resource Preparedness, which is known as the NDRP. Now, under the NDRP, let me just go back into here, and under the NDRP, with former president Barack Obama. I'm just going to type this right here into Google, right? I'm just going to type this in here. Executive Order 11490. 11490. Yep, Executive Order 11490. Assigning emergency preparedness functions to the federal departments and agencies. And this was signed by Richard Nixon. So now let me go back. Now, Executive Order 11490 that Salem Kirkman mentioned in his book back in 1980. In 2012, the order was consolidated into Executive Order 13603. Executive Order 13603 is what we know today as the National Defense Resources Preparedness Executive Order. Is an order of the President of the United States signed by President Barack Obama on March 16th, 2012. That was basically the day before St. Patrick's Day. Back in 2012, March 16th was on a Friday. That Saturday was the 17th, was St. Patrick's Day. So right before the St. Patrick's holiday, people on Friday night started celebrating St. Patrick's Day, getting drunk out their mind. All these bars and pubs was full of people getting drunk out their mind. They weren't paying attention to this. And then the very next day was St. Patrick's Day, the 17th. People were getting shit-faced all over the place. They didn't give a damn about this. Now, I'm going to read the provisions of Barack Obama's executive order, which is why I say that the fix is in. Okay? So let me go here to Obama's executive order. Okay, his executive order that he put on the books. This executive order, what it's going to do is it's going to take control of everything that you have in your life. Everything that you have, your cars, food, water, everything that you have, the government is going to take control of it. Now, under Obama's National Defense Resource Preparedness that Obama signed on March 2012, you have Section 801, which is, you got to scroll down in the act all the way pretty much to the bottom. And when you get to Section 801, Section 801 definitions, it says, in addition to definitions in Section 702 of the Act 50, United States Code, APP 2152, the following definitions apply throughout this order. Civil transportation, in other words, the government takes control of Section 801, subsection A. Civil transportation includes movement of persons and property by all modes of transportation in interstate, intrastate, or foreign commerce within the United States, its territories and possessions, and the District of Columbia, and related public storage and warehousing ports, services, equipment, and facilities such as transportation carrier, shop and repair facilities. Also shall include direction, control, and coordination of civil transportation capacity regardless of ownership. So regardless of who owns whatever transportation that they deem necessary, that they need, the government, they're going to take control of it. They can come and take it. Now let me skip down to B, Section 801, subsection B. Energy means all forms of energy, including petroleum, gas, both natural and manufactured, electricity, solid fuels, including all forms of coal, coke, coal chemicals, coal liquefaction, and coal gasification, solar energy, wind, other types of renewable energy, atomic energy, and the production of conservation, use, control, and distribution, including pipelines of all of these forms of energy. Subsection C. Farm equipment means equipment, machinery, and repair parts manufactured for use on farms in connection with the production or preparation for market use of food resources. The government can take over Section D. They can take over farm equipment. Subsection D says they can take over fertilizer, which is manure you use to, if you want to plant a garden, you get some manure and put it in there, and then you drop your seeds and you plant a garden. The government takes over fertilizer, and you use it as used on the farms too. D, fertilizer means any product or combination of products that contain one or more of the elements nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium for use as a plant nutrient. So if whatever you're using for a plant nutrient to grow your own little garden in the backyard, or if you're a farmer, right? The government takes control of fertilizer. It says here, Section 801, subsection E. Food resources means all commodities and products, simple, mixed, or compound. It says simple food, mixed, or compounds, which, like, you go to the store and you get like you get the noodles in the bag, and it already, you have to boil the noodles, you add milk and put the seasoning pack in it, and you got instant beef stroganoff, or like you got hamburger helper, right? That's in a pack. You put the ground beef in there, you hook the noodles up, and you hook it up, and now you got beef stroganoff, like that. Well, it says simple, mixed, or compound, or components to such commodities or products that are capable of being ingested by either human beings or animals. So even if you got food for your cat and your dog, they can take that too. It says, irrespective of other uses to which such commodities or products may be put at all stages of processing, from the raw commodity to the products thereof in vendable form for human or animal consumption. So you got the food in its raw state and then it's processed, and like hell, you got food in vending machines, right? They take that food too, right? And a vending machine is packaged. The government takes control of that too. So that's why I say it's a setup. The fix is in. With the DHS putting out this report, the fix is in. The fix is in on the government people, and especially on the 12 tribes of Israel, because you damn sure directly are going to be affected by all of this. You're affected by this government shutdown right now, and this is just a little shutdown. Okay, it went about a month and a half, and then they reopened the government for 3 weeks, and it's going to be shut down again. But if the president declares a national emergency, all of these laws come into effect, which none of you people out there have been paying attention. A lot of you black people in the ghetto, you don't even know that this exists. A lot of you, you're in goddamn La La Land, but you know what? The game is over. La La Land is over with. Let me read on. It says, food resources also means potable water packaged in commercially marketable containers, right? So if you have water that's in a commercially packaged container, like you got Avion bottled water, or you got Poland Spring bottled water, whatever, right? Government takes control of that. It says commercially marketable containers, all starches, sugars. Black people love sugar, right? Starches meaning you got bags of potatoes, you got bags of rice. Those are starches. Sugars, bags of sugar. Vegetable and animal or marine fats and oils. You got corn oil, vegetable oil that you use for cooking or whatever. Peanut oil. They take it. It says vegetable and animal or marine fats and oils, seed, cotton, hemp, and flax fiber, but does not mean any such material after it loses its identity as an agricultural commodity or agricultural product. So that's just, and you can keep reading down because it goes all the way, Section 801 goes all the way down to the last provision in Section 801 of the National Defense Resources Preparedness, signed by Obama on March 16, 2012. The last provision in Section 801, subsection N. It says, water resources means all usable water from all sources within the jurisdiction of the United States that can be managed, controlled, and allocated to meet emergency requirements. So that means if you have well water on your land and you're not getting, you know, the tap water that comes in from the city, they can take control of your well, as well as taking control of the tap water, well water, and bottled water. This is all in the provision that Obama signed, which goes back to the provision that Bill Clinton signed in 1994, which goes back to the one that Jimmy Carter signed, not Jimmy Carter, that Richard Nixon signed back in 1969. So this is all on the books, and the government can act on this in the event of a national emergency. Now, the scriptures in the book 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter, says this. 2nd Ezra, let me pull this up. 2nd Ezra 15, and I'm going to start at the 14th verse. It says, woe to them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. And one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hand. Why are people going to be standing up and fighting? It's going to be a class war. It's going to be race wars, but it's going to be class wars also. Because you got people who have resources and have money. A lot of them have provisions that are stored up. So the poor people are looking for what? Food. So you're going to migrate from the area that you're at in the cities. You're going to go into the burbs, go out into the sticks, And these people are there with their guns and their ammo waiting for your ass to come up there. You're coming up there with your guns or whatever to come and take their food, and they're going to defend their homes. So it says, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. That's what's going to happen. Once the food supply runs out in these stores, and whatever people have in their pantry runs out, or the government comes in and takes your food supplies from you, people are going to go buck wild. It says, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city, and shall not be able. Why? Because the cities are going to be cut off. It's going to be martial law. In the event of a state of emergency, the Constitution is suspended. So you don't have the right to freely go travel nowhere. They can institute a curfew, and they can set up garrisons everywhere, which are called checkpoints. They can set up checkpoints everywhere. So you want to leave one city to go to another city, you ain't going to be able to. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. So in every city across the United States, it's going to be on, man. It says, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. That's going to happen right in the city. It says, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods. So if you have food, you live in the city and you got some type of food stored up and you cooking, and the next door neighbor and the people down the street haven't eaten in days and they smell that food, like animals, they're going to come to where the food is at. They're going to break into your house. They're going to eat the food that you cook, and they're going to kill your ass and take whatever you got stored up in your house. That's what's going to be happening in the cities. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. You understand? This is the time that we're coming into. Let me go back to back to this article. All right? Let me go back to this article. That's why I say that the fix is in, because again, Department of Homeland Security is telling people to prepare and store food for up to 6 months. But you have laws on the books, which when the president declares a national emergency, these laws are enacted. And the government and its agencies, meaning FBI, CIA, military, they can come to your house, kick the door in, and take your provisions and take your ass too. Okay? So let me go back here to this article. It says, DHS is warning that the electric grid is now the prime target of terrorists, and says Americans need to be prepared for a power outage of up to 6 months. The report says that people no longer keep enough essentials within their homes, reducing their ability to sustain themselves during an extended, prolonged outage. We need to improve individual preparedness. The report, titled Surviving a Catastrophic Power Outage, warns that an attack would likely come with little to no notice and could cause complete chaos for at least a half a year. Long duration, lasting several weeks to months, at least 2 months, but more likely 6 months or more, due to physical destruction to equipment such as transformers or transmission lines, or the severity of the event resulting in limited workforce to repair damage, or inability to create or transport replacement parts, said the report. The report recommends Americans have enough supplies on hand for a minimum of 14 days, a number that now seems grossly inadequate considering the threat and the timeline for reestablishing essential services after an attack. It says the report is the second in the last month to warn of a profound threat to the U.S. electric grid from terrorism and events like a solar storm or solar flare. Look at that. So it says this report, which came out on the 10th of December. It says the report is the second in the last month. So they issued 2 reports in a month's time dealing with this situation, which means that's what they plan on doing. They plan on sabotaging the electric grid and causing a power outage. It's the government that's going to do it. It's not the terrorists. Remember, the terrorists are funded by the government. Al-Qaeda was funded by who? The CIA. You remember that? Al-Qaeda was funded by the CIA. It says, the report is the second in the last month to warn of a profound threat to the U.S. electric grid from terrorism and events like a solar storm or a solar flare. A prior government report also recommended presidential action to protect the grid from attacks. In that report from the Air Force's Air University, the military warned an EMP-style attack could wipe out the United States democracy and the world order. They also warned that 99 nuclear reactors would likely melt down without electricity to cool them. 4.1 million would be displaced from areas around the nuclear plants as the radioactive cloud spread. Military and commercial jets, such as those built by Airbus, could be degraded. Alarmingly, aircraft designed to carry large numbers of people and sizable cargo are allowed to operate without certainty about their level of resilience. Bases will be cut off, making defense and counterattacks impossible. Civil unrest would start in hours, which is what I'm reading about in Esdras. Civil unrest would start in hours. Power and GPS could go dark. An EMP would cause instantaneous and simultaneous loss of many technologies reliant on electrical power and computer circuit boards such as cell phones and GPS devices. So ain't gonna be no more being on Facebook, no more being on InstaWhore. You call it Instagram, I call it InstaWhore. You won't be able to get on Facebook, InstaWhore. You won't be able to look at YouTube or look at videos. Your phone will be dead, totally dead. And you'll be lost, because if you don't know your way around and know the highways, and you always plug everything into the GPS and you follow wherever and you don't have a sense of direction, you're screwed because you're lost. It says failures may include long-term loss of electrical power due to loss of emergency generators, sewage, fresh water, banking, landlines, cellular service, vehicles. 18 months or more are required to replace key elements of the electric grid that will be damaged or knocked out. So again, that's why I'm saying that based on this report by the Department of Homeland Security, I'm saying that the fix is in. Because all of the laws that are in place to hinder you in the event of a national emergency. And they're telling you to store up goods for 6 months. But then they can turn around and come and take all your shit from you in your house where you have it stored. So now let me go back to the scripture. I'm going to end off with, I'm going to read 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter, and read on down. And then I'm going to end this lesson off. 2nd Ezra 16. And I'm going to start at about the 17th verse and just read down. Because this entails the time that we're in, and what the time that we're in and what we're about to encounter in these next up and coming months, next year, the next up and coming months leading into the next year, what we're about to encounter, what we're walking into. 2nd Ezra 16 and 17. Woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear. The beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evils shall come? We're going to pray to Yahweh Hashem Yahushua that he deliver us. That's what we're going to do. But with the rest of you out there, I don't know what the hell you're going to do. Verse 19, behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. So these are things, famine and plague. Plague means diseases. With the hospitals being shut down, you won't be able to go and get your medication. You can't go into the pharmacy to get your medication. So you're going to have outbreaks of all kinds of plagues because people aren't able to get their medication. If you're unable to have certain nutrients in the body so the immune system can build an immunity to fight off certain diseases, things are going to run rampant in the body. Like one thing that affected the Pilgrims when they came over here, to Plymouth Rock, it was called scurvy. Scurvy develops in the body when you have a lack of citric acid in the body, which is vitamin C. When you have a lack of vitamin C in your system, the body develops scurvy. So they thought that scurvy was a disease that was in the hull of the ships that they came across from England on, but scurvy was a result of the body not having vitamin C. So then you developed a condition called scurvy and you were dropping dead. 50% of those pilgrims that came across on that voyage, they dropped dead, okay, because of lack of vitamin C. Just having a lack of the mineral vitamin C in your body will cause a condition to erupt inside the body. So that's what's going to happen during this time. Let me read on. Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. It meaning the Lord said he sent these things as scourges for amendment to correct your ass. Famine and plague, starving where your body is eating you from the inside out. That the Lord is sending that for an amendment. But for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. Behold, victuals shall be so good, cheap upon earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case. And even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great tribulation. Even the victuals. Again, like they have these deals where you could get 10 for $1 each, but you got to buy 10 of this and 10 of that. You're like, damn, this is good. You know, this is cheap. Victuals shall be so good. So people are thinking they're in good case. Everything's all right. You know, the country's doing good and all that. Nope. You're thinking yourself to be in good case, but the worst is yet to come. For many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, and the others that escape the hunger. Now, if you escape the famine, the sword is there to destroy you. So you might escape the famine. You might break into a place that has food and you sitting there eating the food. Then another person comes with a gun and kills your ass. So you escape the famine from one place. Now you're getting killed. It says, let me read it again. For many that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. And the dead shall be cast out as dung, and there shall be no man to comfort them. For the earth shall be wasted, and the cities shall be cast down. So you're going to have dead bodies all throughout the cities, and what's that? That's going to breed disease. Because those dead bodies not being buried, you're going to have decay and the filth and the odor of the bodies decaying, of the rotting coming up in the air, and that's going to cause other conditions and other things to break out. Because it's unsanitary being around dead bodies, dead decaying bodies. That's going to be another outbreak of diseases right there. All right. It says, there shall be no man left to till the earth and to sow it. The trees shall give fruit, and who shall gather them? Yeah, you're going to have apple orchards and different places that got these different apple orchards, or you grow mangoes, whatever the case may be. Right? Peaches, a peach tree, whatever. But who's going to be able to go pick the peaches or pick the apples off the tree? There ain't going to be nobody there to go get them. The grapes shall ripen, and who shall tread them? For all places shall be desolate of men. Numbers of people is going to be cut down. It says, so that one man shall desire to see another and to hear his voice. For of a city there shall be 10 left, and 2 of the field, which shall hide themselves in the thick groves and in the clefts of the rocks. People are going to be very fearful. There's a movie that was about this that I'm reading. It's called The Road. Okay? With, what's his name? Viggo Mortensen. It's a movie. It's called The Road. The movie didn't do too good in the theater because people, they don't want to look at something like that. And that's the time that we're coming to. And in that movie, it showed you had bands of men that got together and were out together like a pack of wolves hunting, looking for food. And there was a woman and her child who the men spotted, and they were running after her and in the open field, and they cornered her and she couldn't go nowhere, so she just stayed and grabbed her son, and she started crying because you know what was going to happen. They're going to kill her son and eat him, and they're going to take her and pop the hell out of her for a few days, and then when they get hungry, they're going to cook her up and eat her. Go watch the movie The Road starring Viggo Mortensen, right? I believe that's his name. It says, "For of a city there shall be 10 left, and 2 of the field, which shall hide themselves in the thick groves and in the clefts of the rocks. As in an orchard of olives, upon every tree there are left 3 or 4 olives. Or as when a vineyard is gathered, there are left some clusters of them that diligently seek through the vineyard. Even so in those days there shall be 3 or 4 left by them that search their houses with the sword." So we was reading about the government coming in and taking your provisions. People are going to come searching people's houses with the sword. What? Looking for what? For food. I Am Legend with Will Smith. What was he doing? He had a map and he was going house by house with a gun, checking for those dark seekers. And then he was finding ragu pasta. He was finding pasta and different food, non-perishable foods that he was taking and putting in a bag with him and bringing it back to the place where he stayed. Because there was an outbreak of the Crippen virus. The movie took place in New York, but it happened all throughout the country, right? So that's what this is talking about, and that's what we're coming to. So that's a visual example of what I'm reading in the scripture. It says, "Even in those days there shall be 3 or 4 left by them that search their houses with the sword. And the earth shall be laid waste, and the fields thereof shall wax old, and her ways and all her paths shall grow full of thorns, because no man shall travel therethrough." Again, they showed that in I Am Legend. You had weeds and grass growing up out of the asphalt and out of the concrete, because why? There was nobody there to cut none of that stuff down. So you had growth everywhere, on buildings, on the sidewalk, everywhere. It says, "And there shall be laid waste, and the fields thereof shall wax old, and her way and all her paths shall grow full of thorns, because no man shall travel therethrough." Verse 33, "The virgins shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers." Because a lot of men are going to be dying. You think it's a shortage of men right now. A lot of men are going to be dropping dead, be getting killed brutally during this time. And women too. But it's speaking about how you women are going to mourn the fact that there are no men around. So you always talking that shit that you could do it all by yourself and you don't need no man and you can do it all by yourself. When this time comes, you're going to be looking for a man. That's why I'm going to read it again. 2 Ezra 16 and 33. "The virgins," meaning the young women, "shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers." Verse 34. "In the wars shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine." So that's pretty much all I wanted to say about the Department of Homeland Security article that came out roughly about 2 months ago, dealing with the situation of there being a possibility of the electric grid being attacked and there being a power shutdown and everything is going to be affected. You won't be able to go to the gas station because the gas pumps are controlled by electricity. You won't be able to go to the bank and get money out your ATM because that's controlled by electricity. You won't be able to, you ain't going to be able to go to the store to go buy any food because the stores are going to be shut down. Okay, the stores are going to be shut down and there's not going to be no food in the store anyway. People are going to panic and they're going to go buy everything up. You see that when it's a snowstorm coming or a blizzard, what do people do? They run to the store and buy everything up. So the shelves are going to be empty. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover in this lesson. And then I'm going to say Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Why Yahweh Shai, and double honors to the elders. And I'm going to say the elders, the apostles, and the elders. And I'm going to say Shalom until the next lesson.